Good morning.
Good morning.
The subject that unfolded early this morning was along the question that has come up several times in letters and probably in the thought of some of you regarding the Master's ask and ye shall receive, knock shall be answered unto you, seek and ye shall find. And to many, this raises the question as to whether or not we are contradicting that when we say, ask not and seek not, search not. And of course the answer is no, there's no contradiction there. But there is a question, and the question is, what did the Master indicate when he said ask, search, knock? When we understand that, as we will, as we understand the full message of the Master, we will know that to ask, to seek, to knock is all part of our work, but not in the sense that the world has accepted it, not in the sense that is indicated in the prayers of the world, but to show you how uniform, how universal this message is, and how it is in this age appearing in human consciousness in a universal way. I want to share this letter with you. You have heard me speak of Brother Mandis in England. Brother Mandis's work in its form of presentation is entirely different than ours. The only similarity is in the ultimate motive of both, and in the fact that we can agree so heartily on basic principles. And that is why I want to share this letter, because it leads up to this other question. Brother Mandis is a Protestant minister. Although he is not connected with any particular church, he heads what is called the World Healing Crusade, but he operates in Protestant churches of all denominations. Practically every day of the week he is in one or another of the Protestant churches in England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and last year he added Holland to his territory. And right in the Protestant churches he does his healing work. He was a businessman. Brother Mandis was representative of one of the airlines for many years in South America. And then he had this spiritual experience and found that he was a healer. And one step followed another until he was in this work of spiritual healing. And he carried it on inside of the churches by having meetings very much like we think of Billy Graham's meetings, but with this difference, that once the crowds were inside the church, he would talk to them not of future salvation, but of the healing powers of the divine presence. And then he would prove it to them by healing. His method was in two directions. He would lay on hands. That is, if you came up to the platform at the healing time, he would put his hand on your head or on your shoulder or on your heart or stomach, and all the time voicing an audible treatment. But he also told the audience, the congregations, that you don't have to come up here and I don't have to touch you. You can sit right where you are, and this same presence and power will touch you wherever you are and bring about healing. And as his work grew, it developed into a tremendous correspondence, one that takes a whole building full of secretaries to answer. And he likewise assures them that just by means of this contact, of this correspondence and his answer, that healing can take place, and in many cases it does. Now, before I met him, he had come to hear of the message of the Infinite Way and had read the writings and wrote me a beautiful letter telling me how thoroughly in accord he was with that teaching and how closely it paralleled his own unfoldment so far as the knowledge of the truth went. Not the method of presentation, but the message itself. And then, of course, we not only met in England, but at one of my lectures he was the chairman of the evening and introduced me. And then I was entertained in his home. And the thing that I came away with is that Brother Mandis is a state of realized consciousness, God consciousness, Christ consciousness, and that whatever healings he does is not through what he says or how he says it, but through the state of consciousness that he is. And some of his writings would seem very strange to us because they are not at all along the line of our work, and yet in between and behind it all, you will see how the same consciousness is appearing on earth in that part of the country, doing the work in that way, while it is appearing on earth in this part of the country and doing it in this way. The reason that Brother Mandis is doing his work his way is that he is convinced that with enough healings taking place in the Protestant church, the ministers will have to ask why, and they'll have to go and do thou likewise, because their people will not be satisfied merely to listen to sermons once they know there is a healing power in scriptural truth. And of course, part of the fruitage of that is already seen in that many ministers are studying over there to see if they cannot attain this healing consciousness. And last year, the Church of England had a conference of all the well-known healers to find how healing is done so that they can present it to their congregations. How soon that will be is a question, but it indicates that he at least is on the right track in believing that if enough healings take place in the Protestant church will have to do some healings or lose their memberships. Now, the point that I wanted you to see in this letter is, well, let it talk for itself. My dear Joel, I was very thrilled and deeply moved by your letter of May 15th with its vibrant message of love, power, and authority. I am with you all the way in your clear-sighted realization of God as the only power, the only activity, and that therefore there is no need to battle with the negative beliefs which are in themselves only a belief in a selfhood apart from God. In fact, all negative situations only have power when we ourselves recognize and deepen our awareness of them by concentrating in a battle to overcome them. Certainly I know in my ministry of healing that the spontaneous healings take place when we effectively know our oneness in God in a complete abandonment of effort to overcome anything. We rest in the divine, and therefore there can only be the divine in full and free and perfect expression. In God there is no sickness. Therefore sickness cannot exist except when we insist upon separating ourselves from the divine to believe in false appearances. It is so wonderful how the new realization is beginning to reach out to the masses. With you, I see most wonderful possibilities of spiritual revival in our time. And by this I do not mean the old-fashioned revival, but a new, stirring, vital revival which brings us all into the absolute spirit where the almighty power of God can blaze forth in perfect expression. What a wonderful age this is. Never in history has there been such opportunity to bring millions of people into a central realization of their divinity. It is such a comfort and strength to feel united with you in this oneness of spirit, therefore oneness in each other. In spirit, therefore, all that I have is thine, and infinite powers and potencies are released in you and in me, and in all whose lives touch ours. I rejoice with you and give thanks that it is so. Great events are in the making, and you truly say that this will be a wonderful year. I shall certainly look forward to meeting you in September. I'll be at the Caxton Hall for some days, the second or third week in September, so we'll be seeing you in London. We will be very happy to welcome you up here also in October, and I hope I will be available. I am having a week in Holland from the 5th to 10th September. Bless you for writing, and my spirit fuses with yours long before these words can reach you in print. At this moment, I am absolutely at one with you, and you know that God uses me to bless you, and you to bless me, for he it is who doeth all the works. 1,000 blessings and love from us all, and thanks for everything. Yours devotedly, Brother Mandis. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a oneness? Isn't that a breaking down of my teaching and thy teaching, and this church's teaching and that church's teaching, and I have the only true God, and only you have the truth of God? You see how all of this has to break down in the realization of the truth that there is but one Spirit, and that Spirit will raise up your mortal body even as it raised up Jesus Christ from the dead. And that Spirit is not a Jew, nor a Gentile, not a Christian, nor a Mohammedan, nor a white man, nor a black one, nor an Oriental, nor an Occidental, That Spirit is God itself, permeating human consciousness wherever human consciousness is willing to open itself without prejudice, without bias, without limitation, and realize this is the Spirit of God in me, working through me for your blessing. This is the Spirit of God in you, working through you for my blessing, since we are one in Christ Jesus. Now, you see that when I came home from the trip, I told you that there were men of this type wherever I traveled, all of them with this same free willingness to agree that what we are showing forth to the world is the Spirit of God, not somebody's personal religion, not somebody's personal copyrighted material, not some teaching separate and apart from the basic teaching of God, but rather that all of these men are united in a 20th century realization that probably has never existed before, that men and women with all forms of teaching and every method of approach can unite in the realization of two things. One, our conscious union with God, our oneness with the source of all good. We can unite in the realization of God as individual being. He brings that out, that for the first time millions can be told about their divinity. Not the divinity of the minister or priest on the platform, not the divinity of the master of 2,000 years ago or the modern teacher of today, but your divinity. This is the teaching. This is the wisdom of all ages, again coming to light in human consciousness. God is your being, your soul, your mind, your spirit, and the only law. God it is that unites us. We are united in God, so that whatever blesses one blesses all. Whatever spirit, presence, or power of God is made manifest in my individual experience becomes your individual experience the moment we consciously unite in and as one. Yeah, but this is not merely so because I am who I am or what I am. This is true of everyone who can open their consciousness and realize this. Because, you see, it is recognized that he, Brother Mandis, acknowledges himself through his contact with God to be a blessing unto me, and acknowledges that my union with God is a blessing unto him. Can we not unite in that self-same realization that if I am in the Father and the Father is in me, then you are in me and I am in you, and we are all together in the Father, united in oneness. Now, you will find also, as you review this letter, that he is in total agreement on a second point, which is one of the most vital points of all, and one in which the entire church of the world must ultimately come into agreement, because it is on this point, or rather the denial of this point, that they prevent their prayers from being healing prayers. The prayers of the church cannot heal in this age. And the reason you find in our work, and now repeated in this acceptance in this letter, that sickness does not exist as a condition, and therefore praying to God is not the way to heal it. God cannot heal that or remove that which has no existence. This whole letter permeates, brings to light the truth not only of oneness in and of God, but of the great wisdom that has been given to us in so many chapters in the writings, the nature of error. Sickness does not exist. Negative conditions do not exist, whether of mind, body, character, soul. Negative conditions do not exist, and they only operate in proportion to our acknowledgement of them and our determination to battle them. It is only as we relax in the realization of our union in God, of God, with God, as one with God. It is only as we relax in the realization that God is individual entity and identity, God is individual being, and even the substance of body, only then can we take that next step and realize, why, yes, negative conditions in and of themselves have no existence. They exist only as a universal belief, which at this moment we may be individually accepting. If so, there is a work for us to do, and that is consciously reject it. Not consciously battle sin or disease, but consciously realize that neither sin nor disease have entity, substance, law, or continuity. Now, I would like you to see this. I would like you to see further the agreement that this man accepts of this, so that you may know that in other parts of the world this same light is going into human consciousness, hastening the day when it will be accepted all over the globe, and then we will find how the kingdom of heaven is to come on earth. Many people do not realize how it is that we give reality to the very conditions that we would like to be free of. They do not understand how it is that as much as we would all like to be free of erroneous thoughts and things, that we persist in demonstrating more of the negative than of the positive. And so I would like you to follow me in this example. We will assume that the telephone rings, only now someone will answer it. And the one answering it will say to you in this room, I've just had a message that Joel is very ill in Chicago. And now I will ask, what is your response? You look up here and you see Joel and you hear him talking and you smile and you say, oh, I guess that's just a rumor. And you're not a bit disturbed. Not a bit disturbed. You don't say, quick, let us get silent and give him a treatment. Oh, no, you're not a bit disturbed. You know right well that that's a rumor. How do you know it? Well, as a matter of fact, you know it only because you're judging by appearances. And your knowing of it isn't a very good treatment, because you're not really knowing it spiritually. You are judging by appearances, and you're merely declaring humanly, oh, it can't be true because we see him and we hear him. But if by any chance Joel had not been here when you came this morning and the telephone call had come, the chances are you would have said, oh, Joel has helped us, now let us get busy and help him. And then everybody would have sat down and got very silent and very sacred and tried to help Joel, but it would have been just as much of a rumor. Just as much of a rumor. And so you see, you would have been doing the very wrong thing if you had any idea at all that you had any power to help Joel, because nothing would have helped them. Even if it had been humanly a fact, you wouldn't have helped them unless you had been able to say, that's only a rumor. If you could have accepted, in spite of appearances, the fact that it is only a rumor, Joel would have had an instantaneous healing. Why? Why? Because then your stating that it was only a rumor would have been based on your spiritual recognition of the fact that Joel has no life apart from Christ. Joel has no mind or soul or spirit or being or body apart from Christ. Therefore, anything other than that you would see or hear would only be rumor, appearance, false belief. Now, this is exactly the way in which we give power to the sins and the diseases that at this very moment afflict us or others. When the rumor comes to us in the form of a pain in the body, or when the rumor comes to us over the telephone from someone else, we don't accept it as a rumor. We accept it as a fact about which we have to do something. Now, you see, that's dishonoring God. Because if there was something to be done and God hasn't done it in advance, there isn't much you can do afterward. Let this be clear. Whatever of discords we are suffering, and whatever of discords we are not meeting for those who turn to us for help, is due to the fact that we are accepting rumors as facts and then trying to do something about them. Do you see that? Everything that comes to us as an appearance or a suggestion. We could just as well use the word the rumor. The question is, do we accept it, or do we say that is but a rumor? That is but a suggestion. Very often I see it as temptation. That is a temptation to accept a selfhood apart from God, to accept a condition apart from God. You will find in some of the tapes that the entire secret of healing lies in one word: reaction. If, when a call comes for help, we react with a smile and say rumor, temptation, appearance, nonsense, we have very beautiful healings. The very moment we answer with concern, as if there were an actual something that had to be overcome, removed, resisted, refuted, then in that degree have we entered the entire picture. And of course, once having accepted battle, we'll have to battle it through to the ultimate. And it is for this reason that we very often struggle with physical, mental, moral, financial conditions for long periods, because we are not struggling with them as if they were rumors that we had to learn to disregard, but as if they were conditions that we had to overcome. Now, in the light of that, I say to you, I would like to bring to you release from the thoughts and things of the world. How can I bring to you a release from the thoughts and things of the world if you are going to accept them as if they were facts instead of rumors. Rumors without foundation. Oh yes, even if you see it with your eyes and hear it with your ears, that doesn't mean that it's a fact. That means that it is a picture of a rumor, either visible or audible. It's still a rumor. It's still a temptation. It is still a suggestion. It is still a world belief appearing to us as a condition for our acceptance or rejection. Now, when a call comes to you from your own body, or from friend or relative, patient or student, the degree of help that is to be realized is the degree of your reaction, the speed with which you can say nonsense, that's a rumor, not a fact, and dismiss it. In the light of this, let us come now to seek and ye shall find, ask, knock. We may seek the consciousness of this truth. We may ask for a realization of this truth. We may desire, we may even struggle for the attainment of that mind which was also in Christ Jesus, but we may not seek or ask or knock for a thing or a thought or a condition or a healing or an enrichment or an employment or a home. Why? There are no negative conditions to be overcome. There are no vacuums. There are no lacks or limitations. There are no negative conditions of any kind in a God world. And there is no other world except the world of illusion, the world which we accept mentally, look at, and then begin to hate, fear, or love. In the God world itself, only harmony exists. If that were not true, God would be a monster. God would not be something to be worshipped, adored, welcomed. If in all of this world there were a single sin or disease or death, God would be responsible for it. Therefore, there are rumors of wars. There are rumors of discord, rumors of sin, and we accept them as if they were facts and then demonstrate them. Now, let us seek the kingdom of God. Let us seek the realization of God. Let us knock at the door of consciousness for this inner light to be revealed. Let us ask every day for more light, more light, more light, more spiritual wisdom. Then you will see that there is a spiritual form of prayer which reveals not a healing power or enriching power, supplying power, but which reveals the kingdom of God as intact here and now, and reveals the illusory nature of that which is appearing to us as the errors of this world. Now you see, as long as there exists on earth churches opening their doors for people to come in and pray for things and people, there will be people deluded by this concept of God and of prayer, as long as they leave their doors open for us to walk in and utilize their silence, their purity, the integrity that their ministers established there by virtue of their own righteous motives, we then can enter those churches and all others and pray the prayer of asking, seeking, knocking at the door of our own inner consciousness, that this light be revealed to us, showing forth the harmonies of the world, not a method of overcoming the discords of the world. That is the point that we must unite in. That is the point that I have been working with ever since my beginning year in this work. That is the work that I rejoice in now when I meet men like Brother Mandis, willing to agree that the spontaneous healing work takes place not when we are battling disease or trying to overcome it, but when we are uniting in the consciousness of our oneness in and with God. Now, time is of no importance as long as we have begun to discern this truth and learn to reject the rumors that are presented to our thought each day, rumors of negative conditions of mind, body, morals, and purses. As long as we have discerned that our work is not going out into the world and trying to save it or heal it or redeem it, but that our work is a revelation of God as individual being, and therefore the non-reality to that which is appearing as these negative conditions of the world. Now, from the moment that we accept that, time is of no importance, because we will not build the consciousness of this truth in a given moment. It is the work of eternity. We will only come into this awareness, into this consciousness, bit by bit, step by step. It is, as the Hindu has said, like the taking away of one onion skin. One onion skin at a time drops away from us, and we say, I haven't made much progress. And looking at the onion, with only one skin missing, it hasn't made much progress in getting undressed. But we keep on day after day with one skin, and ultimately we wake up to the fact that we only have half of an onion. And then we say, well, maybe after all, we are making progress. And we are, and the day eventually comes when we have no more onion at all. And so it is in our work. Every day is lost. Every day is wasted until that first day comes when we discern the fact that I and the Father are one and all is well with me and the universe, and then learn that with every temptation that comes to us, every discord, every inharmony, whether in our own lives or that of others, that these come to us only as rumors, temptations, claim of a selfhood apart from God, belief in presence or power apart from God. Then from then on, time isn't of any importance, because this isn't going to come in its fullness in a flash, and we're on the way once we have undertaken this realization. Then every day becomes a day of seeking to us. Every day becomes a day of searching, of asking, of knocking. But no longer for the things of the world. Now only for the realization that thy grace is maintaining this universe in its original integrity, purity, and immortality, eternality, perfection. Now, there is no longer a hitting up against here of the error and a resultant answer to, well, now what can I do about it? Or, well, maybe I'd better call my practitioner because my practitioner can do more about it than I can do. About what? The rumor that should have been met instantly when it touched your consciousness. Certainly, once you accept it and feel that you're not equal to it, then you'd better get a practitioner because you've lost your opportunity in that particular case. But eventually you must realize that this isn't a question of a practitioner. This is a question of a rumor that is coming to you to be accepted as a fact or to be dismissed. Now, when you come to that realization, so that all of these negative conditions of the world touch your consciousness, and inwardly you can smile and say, I wasn't caught by that rumor. I didn't spread it any further. I let it die with me. Do you see? Then you have gotten someplace. Recently, I had a letter that a teacher in one city had heard about the infinite way when I was there originally, which is some 6 or 7 years ago, and thought he was going to look into it when he heard a story about the infinite way and about Joel Goldsmith, and he decided to wait a while. And then he heard a second and a third story, and then he knew it was nothing for him. And so he decided not to investigate it anymore because there was something radically wrong with the infinite way and with Joel Goldsmith. And so several years went by, and then one of his students came to him and wanted to tell him something about the infinite way. And oh no, he had heard all about it, and it was a very bad thing, and so was Mr. Goldsmith, a very bad man, evidently. Something wrong about him. And later, another student came, and then another student came, and the first thing you know, he began to wonder how these stories would come of good. And then he saw an actual evidence of the good from the work, and he thought perhaps he had been mistaken, and then he started investigating. Now he is very happy about the entire situation, except he's a little bit mad at the years that he lost listening to stories, rumors, which had not been verified and which could have been disproved with a little investigation. Now, each one of us, are in that same boat. There isn't a day of the week in which we aren't accepting a rumor about ourselves and about others. And the rumor isn't how good so-and-so is. It's how sick or how sinful or how poor or how disastrous or how negative or how dead. And either we think it's too bad and we'd like to do something about it, which is, of course, accepting the rumor at face value. Or we just ignore it and say, well, probably served them right anyhow. But in either case, we have accepted this rumor and postponed the day of our own salvation. What happened to the other fellow isn't too important because sooner or later they have to wake up for themselves anyhow. But we, by accepting a suggestion of a selfhood apart from God, at any time in any day, we are deferring the day of our own salvation. Do you see that? Every negative condition, every negative person, every negative situation comes to you as a rumor. It comes to you as a suggestion. It comes to you as a temptation to believe in a selfhood apart from God, to believe in a condition apart from God, to believe in the actuality of a negative person or condition. And each time that such a rumor comes to you, that you do not immediately ignore. You just delay by that much your own spiritual unfoldment, because the only thing you have the right to seek and ask for is the realization of God as individual being, the realization of God as the only activity operative in this universe. Someday there will be a band, a circle of spiritual wisdom, of spiritual consciousness all around the entire globe. And each one of us will be able to seek, ask, knock at that circle of consciousness. It will be whatever degree of realized consciousness I have attained. That will be in one spot. And whatever degree of realized consciousness Brother Mandis has will be at some other spot. Whatever degree of realized consciousness you have will be at some other spot. Whatever degree of realized consciousness there is anywhere in the world on the part of teacher or student, that will go to form the fabric of this band of spiritual consciousness around the world. And then everybody in this world who seeks, asks, and knocks for spiritual light will find that they are tuned in to this band around the world. That is the vision that I have had from the beginning, that there will be a spiritual band or circle around this entire globe of consciousness, and that anyone who reaches out will touch my realized consciousness, your realized consciousness, his or her realized consciousness, which now has formed this united band around the world. Then the world will not be saved one by one, but by that time it will be millions by millions, and the complete realization will come quickly. First of all, there must be such as you and I. There must be such as Brother Mandis and those who can accept his teaching, who in their particular localized places achieve this consciousness, which no longer can be localized in either time or space, but is released. And then the world, touching that degree of realized consciousness, can attain some measure of it, at least enough for their healing, and then go on from there to practicing this presence of God. Do you see now what constitutes practicing the presence of God? It's twofold. Not merely realizing God as individual being, not merely realizing God as one, the one law governing this universe, the one substance, the one cause, the one effect, but also going on to that second point, which we in our work call the nature of error, and which some of our students still do not like. Now remember, the human mind does not like this term, the nature of error. Why? The human mind would like to have a la-di-da religion. Would like to sit up on a pink cloud with lace on the pants and just sing lullabies or hymns and say, God is love, while the snake bites them. What snake? Of universal belief in a selfhood and a presence and a power apart from God. Because until the human mind is willing to awaken to this realization that these appearances do exist and that they have presence and power and law in our experience, until we consciously learn the nature of them as illusion, as rumor, as temptation. Do you follow that? You individually have got to learn not to ignore error and just say, oh, God is all. That won't do it for you. You have got to be willing to look it right in the mouth and say, I know thee what thou art. Nothing. A rumor, a tale, a temptation, a universal belief. I know what you are. You don't frighten me anymore. Do you see the difference? It's one thing to believe that you've got a God that overcomes error and leaves you in the error. It's another thing to know that you have a God which is an infinite good and besides which there is none else. Then when somebody says to you, as they did to me years ago, to which I had no answer, oh, but let me take you down the street and show you the hospitals and the cemeteries. That's right, there they are. What answer have we got to that? We know the answer now. There will always be hospitals and cemeteries, as long as there is somebody unwilling to look the situation right in the face and know that every one of these appearances has existence only as a universal mental belief, a suggestion of a selfhood apart from God, of a law apart from God, of a condition apart from God. As long as there are people willing to believe that God is some great power that can heal disease or enrich them, there will be no end to these things called hospitals and cemeteries. They will only come when we individually say, what is the nature of that which is appearing to us as sin, disease, and death? It's been fooling us long enough, generations enough. What is the nature of this? And then find out that it's a telephone call about a rumor of something. Why? How did we accept the rumor? Because we didn't know Christ as the identity of every individual on the face of the globe. Once we knew that, we could reject every rumor and say, so what? What harm can you do to Christ? Crucify it and see if it doesn't walk the earth again. Entomb it and see if it doesn't. No use denying the crucifix, no use denying the tomb. But what of it? What of it? Is it a power? Is it a presence? No, our metaphysicians walk around saying, it isn't true, it never happened. It is true, and it did happen, but what of it? What power did it have? What presence did it have? So it is with us. What difference does it make? Is there an activity apart from God? Is there a soul apart from God? Is there a being apart from God? Is there a mind? Is there a law apart from God? No, I know not any, says Isaiah. I know not any. There are no other gods before me. There are no other gods but me. There are no other gods but one. And that one is the I am of your being and of my being and of his being and her being and its being. And now, even though you are not in this room and the telephone call comes to me that you are sick or sinning or poor or dead, I must be alert enough to say that's a rumor, because I'm looking right at the Christ of God. And I know that Christ is the only identity of individual being. Do you not see that only that constitutes an individual who is set apart from mortal belief? Do you not see that only an individual who has in some measure realized that Christ is individual identity, that each one is the child of God, and so when the rumors come of sin, disease, death, lack, and limitation, we can say, so what? What power is there in such rumors or beliefs? What power is there even if somebody accepts such things? I know not any. I'm not concerned what somebody else accepts or believes. What am I accepting? Now, in the light of that, let us every day ask and knock and seek, but for more and more light. Let us remember that which was given to us recently. We can pray for anything we want in the world as long as it's something not of this world. Never forget that. Never, never pray for anything that is of this world because you can't demonstrate it spiritually. Pray all you want. Ask all you want. Seek all you want. Knock all you want. Only be sure that it's for something that is not of this world. Let's meditate. And now comes the shortest, but the most important part of this whole lesson. Why, after all this, was it necessary to meditate? Because not one bit of this was of any importance to anybody in the world except in the degree of the click or realization. It exists only in the realm of thought or statement or anything else you want until it becomes vital, alive, active through realization. You see now that knowing the truth as we have been knowing it for an hour is but one part and the least part of the whole demonstration. The greatest part comes in the next minute when we stop our voicing of truth, go within and let God put the seal on it. When God places the seal on it, by giving us a second of realization, a feeling of it is done, or I am on the field, then and then alone is the other 59 minutes worthwhile. So it is with your individual treatments. You may declare all of these things about every rumor or temptation that comes to you. You may go through all the routine of remembering, probably even memorizing every word of this, but remember this, that you have accomplished nothing for yourself or for the world until you have had God's seal placed on it in meditation by an inner assurance, it is done. It is well. I am on the field, or a release. You see, I would like to bring you release from the thoughts and things of the world. Now, I can only bring you, God can only bring you, Christ can only bring you a release from the thoughts and things of the world when you have consciously known this letter of truth and then gone within for the actual experience or consciousness of truth. It is not the words we say or think or write or read, but the consciousness of it that we attain in our meditation. And so I say to you also, we could just as well have avoided this whole last 59 minutes by starting off the first minute with the meditation and then going home. Now always remember that the only reason there is for reading books and having classes and hearing lectures is to lead up to the point of realization. But the day will ultimately come when we won't need the first 59 minutes. We will take the 60th minute in the first minute and achieve the same result. Because the result is achieved not by what we've said or heard, but by the degree of realization of it. The click. You see that? That's the important thing. Never forget that. With all of the truth-knowing that takes place in your consciousness during the day or night, do not be satisfied with it until you have gone into meditation and gotten or received or achieved that inner release which says God is on the field. Let's do that.